So, yeah, hey, Thomas, Frederick. I hope I pronounced it well. So don't worry, I'll edit this part out. And all right. So yeah, guys. So this the first stream is going to be about s- about how to approach your very first short film. So far on the main channel on YouTube, I have been discussing a few topics. Although I try to keep everything based on the principles instead of making it specific to the software, but somehow the impression is it's like a blender specific tutorials. But those who want to find more meaning to it, they do find it. But then I was thinking of starting a workshop series on the Patreon about design related topics, and which are not really software specific, although there will be tutorials and all that. I mean, but then there is other aspect about the animation and motion design, which is uh, which is totally different than mastering a 3D software or 2D software or medium. So there are many more things we are going to discuss in sequels, like maybe storyboarding and character designing and all that. So these are going to be small workshops, and yeah, it's so nice to have people in the chat. So just let me know if something goes wrong again. All right. And yeah. So hi guys, this is Ram for those who are here for the first time from Crossmind Studio, and welcome to my first workshop about my most favorite topic. It's and which I would like to share with you and begin the series of workshop here on Patreon. And I also want to thank all of you for supporting my channel and Patreon and setting the things in the motion. And it's really good to see the numbers moving. And I mean, I have a really good plans because there is a really small crowd which is interested in animation and film design, and I really love interacting with people on this forum. And maybe in future we can make a group projects, like really small projects, like really small animations or something, combine people together and then in a team. I mean, it's just something I was thinking of just on top of my head. So yeah, so if you're here, you're watching this, and chances are you love telling stories. And I mean, everyone in animation lands with a purpose. So some end up with mastering one skill, and but then there's other group which is like those who are really into telling stories. So in I mean, if you know your way around the medium, like whether it's 2D or 3D, and then you start getting comfortable with all those basic principles and all that, then the idea of making your short film is going to come naturally to you. All right. So I'll just go back to the start of the presentation, and it's not the best and finest presentation over here, but I just try to put together something in PowerPoint. And guess what? I just realized how difficult is it to work in PowerPoint. So, but yeah, I have something over here, but that's not important. So we'll just talk it through. All right. So if you have learned a few things about your medium, and you know your way around things, but not sure if you're ready to take on your short film, or if you think you can, but then you need a bit of guidance, then I think today's workshop is going to give you a few things which would push your first attempt of your short film design more towards a, I mean, it would more push it more towards a successful attempt. So I mean, all of this is coming from my own personal experiences. I remember failing really hard for the first 3 and 4 times when I was making a short film. For the first 2 times, actually, I wasn't even sure that I was making a short film. I was just adding stuff. Like I started somewhere, I was adding stuff, and then for 3 months I did something and deleted the entire project. And then for the second time, I remember making something for the 7 months, and then realized that I was focusing so much on the visuals that I totally forgot about the main purpose behind the short film. Then the third time, I was able to make something it was not perfect. I mean, none of these attempts were perfect, but then I am still really proud of all those things that I tried. I mean, I still keep those things in my portfolio, however imperfect those were. Some were good on the visual part, some were on the story part, some were just great experiments. But then it took me many attempts to reach to which I would officially say that it was a good short film. All right. So that's what I would like to share with you guys in this session. I try to keep it short and not drag it for too long. So I hope I'm catching up on a good time window. There's no perfect time for, to schedule the stream. So the half of the audience will be there, or maybe some those who can't attend at this moment can watch the replay later, right? So animating something is one thing, but making an animated short film is completely different challenge. It's like a completely different challenge in itself. So you're basically taking charge of everything and not just focusing on one thing. You're like directing everything, producing everything, creating artworks and making production plans. It's a whole new package with many learnings, and it's not a simple task, guys. If you're doing it for the first time, then it's going to be like opening a door, and then you think you're going to get through that door, but then there are two more doors ahead. And then once you get through those two more doors, then there are six more doors ahead. So if not approached carefully, it could look like a really long tunnel, and one could easily get lost in the process. So which would not be a great scenario for someone starting for the first time. So getting ambitious and trying to make a short film is quite a common thing, but succeeding is in the first attempt is not so common. So I failed a few times, like I said, and then hopefully what I'm going to discuss today over here is going to help you establish some sort of baseline to think over. I mean, some pointers which would help you. So is the audio clear now? Is there any problem with it? Can you guys hear me out clearly? All right. So while you're making a short film for the first time, you will realize how each thing unfolds into multiple challenges. It's like you might not have thought about camera or framing and how important it is, and just the composition. And framing is such a vast topic. Like every topic is so vast, like framing, colors, character, background, and all that is like a really deep subject. So when you're making your short film for the first time, you're going to touch upon all of these topics. It's not going to be an opportunity where you master everything, but then this opportunity is like really important to try to understand like what all goes into it, and at least familiarize yourself with what all goes into making a short film thing. However, like so then you'll realize like what you were learning so far was just a small fraction of something huge. And then where like your problems of today, like maybe if you were thinking 3D modeling is a problem or sketching is a problem, those problems start to appear like really small, and then you have this bigger thing. And it's a human tendency. It's like when you have bigger thing to worry about, or when you're engaged into bigger thing, then those small thing, like those other problems become small. And then that's how it works basically. At least for me it works like that. So maybe if I'm just focusing on one thing, then that thing looks difficult, but then when I look at the bigger picture, then the previous problem was, it just fades away sometime. So however difficult it's going to be, it's going to go like it's going to pay off really well. I mean, all of that hard work is going to pay off, and all those problem solvings and dealing with obstacles deliver such a nice package of learning, be it for learning for portfolio, for improving your design thinking. Everything just takes a whole new turn. Like when you're done making your first short film, the whole perspective changes. The way you learn, the way you think and apply your methods improve immensely. Like your brain start processing many things simultaneously, and your design process improves. And if you think you are past those initial stages where you're exploring the basics of principle and all that, so the idea of making a short film, this urge is going to get stronger. I mean, you will get this thing in, I mean, this idea that you want to make stories. I mean, the more capable you feel every day, like after practicing all those things like modeling, texturing, maybe sketching, drawing, and all that, then you would eventually want to put everything together and form a short film. And I think if you feel that way, then it's a really great thing. Making having a thought in mind that you can make a complete 3D product by yourself is something rare. And uh, but it's practical. In today's world, it's practical. I mean, there are such great tools which can deliver so much these days. I mean, I remember 15 years ago, 20 years ago, everything was so limited. But today, in today's world, if you think smart, you can really bring out really great results. And I'm pretty sure you're aware of, you're seeing some of artists doing like indie films and like making their own short films. So yeah, pretty much possible. Now, before we get into what to do, what not to do, let's talk about why is it important to make your own short film. So the first thing which I can think of is learning on a real project. So usually how it goes is like one day you're modeling something, like every day you wake up and one day you feel like, okay, I need to practice modeling. Other day you would think maybe I should explore 2D, or maybe I should start working on 3D texturing and all that. But then after some point of time, you'll get this feeling that, okay, where do I stop? Like, okay, learning modeling is a good thing, but where do I stop? And do I need to keep on learning, or I mean, there needs to be a goal. So eventually the ultimate goal, whatever you're working on, I mean, whatever you're learning is going to get into, all that effort is going to go into making a cinematic, whether it's for yourself or for some other client or company, or maybe on the job. So that's the ultimate goal. And so learning on a real project, whether or not it's your own film, gives you so much focused opportunity to apply your learnings and combine things into painting something bigger. So you're basically applying all your learning in a real project. And on a real project, you have a reason. It's like you have a reason for every action you take or decision you make. So you're not learning random things, but those have purpose behind them and like constraints around them. And that's a great way to prepare for the future. Instead of aiming for a small thing forever and not knowing where to stop, you're basically learning on a bigger mission, and eventually will also help you with all those small learnings of every day. And your the thinking will improve. And then let's talk about the strengths and weaknesses. So your strength and weaknesses like won't become obvious to you at the start unless you put all of this to test. So it's not like trying different effects or scribbling something fun for Instagram or making short loops for daily renders or something. Instead, you're working with a much bigger objective. And while you're working on it on such a difficult objective, you may find out that where you were focusing all your energies all this while is not your strongest suit. Where you'll also discover that what you're good at, it could be completely different thing. um, yeah, it could be like um, yeah, but then yeah, true. So but then there will be weaknesses, there will be strength, and there will always be, I mean, you will have to work your way around, like you'll have to play around your strengths and try to cover those gaps the wherever you're weak at with your strengths, and the play around it. And so let's say if someone is good at painting really beautiful stuff, then it's not a great but then that if that person is not a great animator at this moment, so what do we do in that case? In that case, you can use that strength, so then you can find a medium that suits that purpose, and instead of waiting for that person to become a great animator, so you can find a medium of animation where you can paint stuff, and then you can manipulate those paintings and tell the stories. So there are several kind of mediums. So there is a frame by frame medium, there is a cutout medium, and there is a stop motion. So there are variety of things, and then there are more things coming up in the future. So you can find what suits your style at this moment, whatever your strengths are. If it's sketching, then go by 2D animation. If it's something you do in 3D, then obviously you'll have to go with the 3D animation. So to play around your strength and weaknesses. So this challenge will always be there. I mean, like, despite of working for 15-20 years, I still find every project come with challenges. So often, like, sometimes client would come up with something like, okay, I need so many particles now, what do I do? So then but then if I don't have strength in that area, then what I try to do is, instead of really trying to struggle with that, I play around with different things. And like, a client ultimately is going to need an animated product, so they don't really care about really small details like how you achieve this effect, but then they have kind of overall feel that, okay, it needs to be in this direction, it could look like this. How you work on that is none of the like, client's business, unless you are in a bigger pipeline. So then finding your interest is really important. It's like a career in animation is not as like straightforward as you may think. So for some, it goes like starting with a 3D modeling and then getting into a job which is a 3D modeler's job. But for others, it could be a bit twisted, like starting as an interior designer, then ended up being a set designer or concept artist for a feature film. So if you actually check out some of the concept artists on feature films, you will be surprised to see the background they come from. So some of those were product designer, like industrial designer, and some of those were making appliances like refrigerators or washing machines and stuff like that. And now they work for entertainment industry. So I mean, it takes time and years to for that to figure out like what exactly is your interest. So I think it's very common to get influenced by choices that are in front of you and making decision based on that. So the more you have seen, the broader your vision is going to get, and more doors are going to open. So when you are just focusing on 3D modeling, then your vision could block. You could be like, okay, I just want to master 3D modeling, and I just want to do a job which is a 3D modeler. There's nothing wrong with that. But then you should see more and you should try more stuff and then settle on something, or maybe not settle at all. Okay, so that's the fun part about it. I mean, you can keep on learning forever, keep on uh, I mean, there's so much to explore, and I think that's what I like the most about it. And don't settle on like, there is so much variety, but then in all of that variety, there are always common things. I mean, there are few strong pillars which if you understand that, then all of those various things are going to make sense, and you'll just start finding patterns and all that. So making an animated short film is like an opportunity for you to dive deeper, which will help you solve this puzzle, and you may find your answers, and you may end up with a more, or maybe you could end up with more questions. So whichever scenario you reach in is going to be a better state than what you are at right now. And finding out what you actually love in all of this takes time, and of course a few years, maybe few months. Some get lucky, and something greater will eventually emerge out of all those attempts, and your path for the future will be refined. You'll be like, okay, so this is what I love. So it was storyboarding all this while. I started as a 3D modeler, but then I realized I love storyboarding. So I mean, there will be shifts like that, or maybe you could just enjoy designing the dresses of the characters. I mean, the fashion designer. You'll never know. You'll have to try it out. So then the other reason for making a short film is like realizing your learning capabilities. So we all learn in different ways. Some are good at maths and working with what's in front of them with like simple methods, but then some would find that research and all that is a uh, I mean, the research and all that is a strong suit for them. So some learn by reading, some learn by looking at images, some work better when given constraints, some work better under pressure, under disciplined environment, and some work better with like fixed goal. So there is like everyone have their own way of learning. So there is no saying what is going to click your brain when. So learning on a real project such as this is going to put you in a scenario where not everything is going to be as expected and calculated, and then there will be a lot of new findings and new learnings, some happy accidents, some things that might keep you puzzled up all night. It's like a stress test. Your mind will be put to like real work. And not just that, a lot of time you'll realize that you already knew these stuff. Things you have seen in the past will start making sense. So from the other movies or illustrations or designs, you will be able to recall transitions or camera angles you saw in some particular movie. So maybe, okay, so then you will start realizing the reasons behind it. So the it's like the brain stores new information by linking it to the patterns of related information already stored, I mean, in our memory. So then whatever you're learning now, I mean, it's going to eventually recall some of that information which is already there with you. Maybe when you were a kid, you tried something in painting, and all of that. Uh, I mean, it's funny the way brain works, and yeah. So I was other day actually my niece. She's just 6 years old, and I just gave her a very random task. So I just told her, I just wanted to, I was like really curious. So I just told her to draw 6 frames of one person jumping. So um, I wish I had that drawing right now with me. I'll see if I can share that in the future. But she drew something. She drew a character, 6 frames, and that character was jumping. I mean, it didn't had good anatomy. It didn't had a good gesture, but then I played that sequence in After Effects, and it looked like that person was jumping, however simple it was. I mean, I was really surprised and shocked, like how simple the thinking of a kid is, but then at the same time, I mean, they are so free, their mind is so free. So I'll share that example. It's something which I think I'll always keep that with me. And when she grows up, I'll show it to her. Maybe not going to force her to become an uh, like in what I love, but let's see. Maybe she'll become a designer. So yeah, and then when you're working on a short film, understanding other roles, becoming a better team player. So when you're working on a short film, it's also going to help you understand other roles. So let's say if you eventually uh, let's say if you enjoy working as a 3D modeler, but then you will also understand what do I need to deliver for a texturing artist, and what do I need to deliver for a let's say if you're a character designer, then you will be like, okay, I need to deliver this much detail for a character modeler to be able to clear about to achieve a good 3D model. So it makes you a better team player. So when you're working in a bigger environment, and the expectations are always that you understand what other person is doing, and you don't just I mean, if you're only expert or good at what you're doing, but then I mean, it's all about teamwork. So that's something which could also, I mean, you making your own short film is a collaborative effort. So maybe one person will be working on sound design, and maybe one person might would help you with the story idea, script writing. So it's a team effort, right? However, it's going to be your solo film, but then I think at some point of time you would need help, like for at least sound or maybe for writing story. I don't think you need to go like really hard on that and like try to be a story writer and try to do everything by yourself. It's okay to take help. Then the last, sorry. So the bigger picture, like someone really wise person said, so if you just focus on the smallest detail, then you'll never get the big picture right. So that's why you need to see the bigger picture, and otherwise you're just gonna see a small thing, and like and end up there, and then you won't even realize, like, okay, I mean, the more you see is that's the whole point. Just try out more stuff, and that's this opportunity is all about, making your own short film. And it gives you constraints to think within, and constraints are something always running parallel in creative world. So when you're working in a job or in a studio or in a production house, so time constraint, budget constraint, and like all that will always be there. So when you don't have constraints, you're like thinking infinite, and your mind can just take you in chain of thoughts about things that are practically not needed at that moment. So now when you have a goal, so which comes with constraints, you think differently. Let's say you have 4 hours every day to spend on a short film. Let's say you're making something that should only be for 15 seconds social media ads spot. Then you will have, so these are constraints, and you will have to find a solution which practically fits in it. I mean, then you'll have to think of a story which you can effectively tell in 15 seconds. You can't afford to say to shrink down a 1 minute story in 15 seconds. That's not how it works. So these are constraints. And so when you're working on your own short film, when you are given constraints, your mind will start thinking differently, and you're like, okay, I have these many resources. If my render times are higher, what do I need to do? If my schedule is tight, what do I need to do? Then all of these choices are going to like make you smarter, make you like more efficient, make you uh, like whatever you'll do is going to be reasonable. And in professional environment, constraints are very well respected. It's rare to have scenario where you work on a project without answering for a budget and time plus all those things not mentioned here. So then we have problem solving. So production of an animated short film is like a wealth of valuable lessons, because they are filled with obstacles. So you may find genius solution for some of these problems, and some may puzzle you for long, but they do serve you with like many learnings nicely packaged about what to do, what not to do. So whether it's going to be a successful short film, whether it's going to be a complete failure, but what's more important over here is the learnings. So you make a short film, then you move on. You make a second short film, then you move on and you improve. You don't wait for perfection. Your perfection is not the aim over here. So learning to solve a problem is the aim of like is what the how it basically works when you making a short film, or even if it's a live action film. So there are like plenty of problems which you can't really calculate. Like you can't really predict that okay, they're going to be a problem like this. So if you actually watch some of the making of few of the movies, so I can't really recall that movie, but in that movie, there was a rig of spider. It was, I think, a really old movie, so CGI was not really practical in that moment. Um, so it was a rig of spider, and then spider was basically it needed to jump from lower ground to higher ground or something like that. So I mean, practically it wasn't possible. So what they did was, in an actual Hollywood movie, they threw the spider from higher ground to lower ground, and faked some of the reverse action and played that sequence in the reverse. So that's problem solving. I mean, it did work, and I mean, eventually, what you see on the screen is what it is all about, and that's what you focus on. All right. So problem solving is the biggest thing. I mean, there are always going to be challenges, and never a scenario where everything is perfectly aligned. Even the Avatar movie, James Cameron, I remember him mentioning that they had to wait for 10 years for technology to come up with those standards so that they could make that film. So they waited so long for that, and even then, I think they kind of felt really limited. And then we have passive thinking. So and this is not specific to animation film design, but then when you are into like when you're making an animated short film, or when you are into this process, so what happens is, whether or not, if you want to think about it or not, so your mind starts thinking passively about everything. So let's say, when you're making your own short film, and after maybe your studio hours, you are just sitting to relax and watch a film on TV, and then you'll end up noticing details and start relating to those. So those camera angles, those choices of designs that you see on the screen, so it becomes passive learning. It's like all the time, like even the entertainment becomes learning for you. So the set you see in the Pixar movie, and then you start realizing, okay, so this set, uh, it looks really simple. The form looks so simple, and the design are minimalistic, and the reason could be, this could be the reason, and the choices of framing and all that. I mean, so passive thinking, like when you're in it, when you're in this process of making your own short film, then your mind is just going to take on and like start thinking on its own. It's like your mind will start connecting the dots, and you won't even have to like dedicatedly spend hours to figure out things. I mean, it's like always learning on the go, right? So yeah, and then there are a few more things, like you can find your own style when you're working on like on maybe one or two or three short films. Then you'll have some sort of style that you enjoy, and it makes you disciplined, and then there will be many more surprises that will come after you successfully finish your like few short films. You'll realize like much more comes out of it than just like few experiences, and there are going to be surprises. So now, where do you begin? Now this is the question, like, for beginners, for those who are starting for the first time. It needs to begin somewhere. Like, what's the very first point? So first of all, which I would suggest, for those who are okay, I just want to do a mic check. I'm just really nervous for the first stream. If someone can confirm in the chat if I'm not talking to just myself and it's clear at all. Yeah. Okay. Just a moment. All right. So thanks, Thomas. Thank you so much. So the very first point, like where you should begin, I think the very first priority for your first short film should be keep it small, keep it simple, and think less ambitious. I remember whenever I started for the first three failures, I remember trying to make it something so detailed that, I mean, I did make something detailed, but then I couldn't complete it. So I'll just show you a few examples if you guys don't mind. Uh, I think otherwise just talking could get boring. So I think I can step in few examples. Over here, I have my portfolio, and then yeah, just a moment. So yeah, here it is. So it doesn't have sound. Let me just bring it on the screen. So this one, I hope you guys can see it. So this was my third attempt of short film. I was like greatly influenced by some of the video games, and like I said, I was so focused on the details and I was so focused on the craft that I totally forgot my first priority, which it should have been, is storytelling. And I couldn't complete it because I uh, so things kind of blew out of proportions. So this was in 2006 or 7. So I was so curious about how these details are, like everything works in 3D and all that, that I remember for this one I didn't even make the storyboard, and that was my, it was such silly and stupid mistake, and all that effort actually went into, uh, I mean, it's not waste. Like I said, none of it is going to be waste. So I'm still so proud of being able to pull off this much. But then I wish it was a complete short film. So I had few more shots, and then I was struggling to render things out. So this I remember I had 512 MB of RAM. So so kids these days, like, uh, they're like, okay, how much RAM do you need for Blender? What graphics card you need for the Blender? So I don't know why those questions never end. I mean, you honestly, what I feel is if your computer can run Google Chrome, then your computer can run Blender. I mean, what's subjective is how much information it can process in viewport or in rendering and all that. Okay, anyways, that is completely different topic, and I just don't want to get carried away. So this was my that one of the attempt. All right. So so as we were discussing over here, keep it small, keep it less ambitious. Otherwise, uh, I mean, just stay focused. Your first attempt is not to make a like a something super hit or like something award winning. I mean, your first film is just for yourself. It's for your own learning. It's for your own experience, and you're basically discovering yourself. And it's like you're applying all this and testing testing waters basically. So like what you can do, what you can't do. It's like all the entire journey of first film is going to be realizations. That's all. So keep your expectations that way, right? Then map out constraints. So think about resources you have and make a goal with them. Let's say you have constrained certain skills at that moment, and be it like 2D or 3D. So choose the medium, see the infrastructure that you have around you. When you start thinking about constraints, it will help you make decisions about the medium of style of animation, length of animation, the all how much effort you need to put in, like estimating everything, details of visual. and all that. So what to go for, what not to go for, what is practically possible with given resources, and what's not possible, and if it's not, can you arrange for it? So for example, it really helps to keep the first short film, the duration of the short film small. uh, like it could be just 30 seconds or 1 minute short film. So there are some amazing examples by uh, the I'm not quite sure how to pronounce it, Goblin's Animation. So I think in French you say Goblin. I don't know. Pardon me if my um, pronunciation is wrong about that, but I think it's very famous. It's one of the most highly famed animation school universities. So Goblin's students have these 30 seconds and 1 minute animation. The student portfolio is one of the best in the world. I really admire their work. So keep it short. It could just be 30 seconds. I think you can just make it about one event. I mean, a small event, and it doesn't even have to conclude anything. It just yes, yes. Thank you. Yeah. So it could be just one event and experience within an event. So keep it really short, and that's even though it's 30 second, the effort that goes into making a 30-second short film is really huge, especially for the first time, for those who are making it for the first time. So getting less ambitious, keeping it limited, and putting some constraints and limits around it is going to really help you come up with something practical, and you'll be less frustrated and more focused. So you're not like struggling with the render times and struggling with what hardware, what software, all those technicalities, but you are, I mean, your risk is much more calculated. All right. And then if you have an idea, that's great. If you don't have an idea, you can just dig through your previous diaries or scribbles or whatever the ideas you had. If you don't have that, then you can always take help. You can write other people who write stories. There are many forms. Maybe you could just visit any of these forums and write to artists who are writing the writers who are writing the stories, and take their permission and make story about it. I mean, or maybe some part from their story, or it could be a really generic topic. It could be just a cactus singing a song about loneliness. I mean, it should be really simple. I mean, for the first time, don't try to say too much in the 30-second or 1 minute short film, your first short film, and that could be one of the biggest mistake. So shortlist your idea and then take a second opinion, share it with your friends, colleagues, brainstorm more about it, and but always keep in mind to stick to the first point, which is not getting carried away and keeping it simple. So you can take feedback from other, then revisit your idea. If you'd like to add anything to it, you can even take feedback from kids. You'll be surprised how vivid uh, the kids' imagination is. So their imagination is like some uh, I mean, they don't have any boundaries. I mean, I don't know how to put it in words. I have a daughter which is 3 years old. Her imagination, I just I'm surprised. The more we grow, how scared we are to think so vivid. I mean, we are like so bound. We have so many these constraints in our head, right? So you can even discuss with a kid to uh, that's all right. So when you have your idea, you can just start scribbling your idea. It doesn't have to be storyboarded. This is not a storyboard stage. Just start putting things in visual. You don't need to be a great artist. These drawings are not going to not going for sale. I mean, you're not going to sell these paintings or drawings. These are just to communicate your ideas to yourself. So just start scribbling, and let's see if I can bring some scribbles on the screen. I hope I can share it. Let's see. Um, Not this. Instead, I think, yeah. So these are some of the sketches. This was actually client's work. So you can see over here, it's not a great sketch. I mean, I was just trying to communicate with the concept artist. So I had some text, then I had few images, few references. So I try to put things uh, together in a board. Like I have few sketches, few mood boards, and then these sketches were translated into some really great artworks by a great artist over here. But you can see, I mean, the information is still there, the same information. Anyways, so yeah, just a moment. Yeah, so start scribbling your idea, and you can uh, just make a very draft copy of very first storyboard, and then you can now post that. When you have a storyboard, then what you can do is uh, yeah, so what you can do is do some sort of research for whatever the idea you have, like any detail. If it has some geographical information, or maybe it's if it's about some culture, if it's about some object, or if it's some sort of behavior, some sort of act, then you can take that very first storyboard, the very first scribbles, and then you sit and do some research about those things you have laid down in those scribbles, or the thoughts that are coming to your head. And then you can do a second pass of storyboard, and then you can do some more research, or maybe revisit it after a few days. And maybe first could be research about the topics, and second time then you do more research about the framing, the layout, the composition, the detailing of the things. And if you can sketch well, that's okay, that's great. And if you can't sketch well, then you can always take help from live action images. Like try to find images, maybe take pictures with your phone or with your camera, and like try to frame things in a camera, use those in background, try to sketch on top of it. So the goal, again, problem solving over here. So goal over here is to keep moving, keep on moving. And um, it's not really, I mean, you don't need to actually perfect storyboard, because that's not your aim over here. You are not a storyboard artist. Your aim is to make a short film over here. And so practices will make you perfect. And then post that, you can have one final storyboard. And on the final storyboard, you can put some colors, maybe take help from the natural color palettes, then do finer drawings. So that's why I said, if you're keeping short film for just a 30 seconds, you'll have even for the 30 seconds you'll have to at least make 15 or 20 storyboard, or maybe 30 storyboard sketches, something like that. So that's why keeping it short is most important thing. Get less ambitious, focus more on the target over here. I mean, the main purpose is to learn everything, and that completes the package of short film, the complete animated product. Right? Then now that you have a sorry, yeah, so post that when you have your storyboard figured out. Yeah, I think I have yeah. So once you have your storyboard figured out, what you can do is you can categorize everything. You can start listing things basically uh, on in every panel of the storyboard. Like you have, obviously you will have character. If you don't have character, then you have these objects you're telling story about. Let's say if it's a just an apple, walking apple, and then you have this apple and what is around that apple. Is it sitting in a room? Is it walking in the street? Then you can start listing those assets. So based on the storyboard, because storyboard scribbles will have all these details somehow, however roughly drawn, but you can get an estimate. Okay, I need some trees in the background, I need some plants over here, so maybe there are 2 or 3 kind of plants. Then I have maybe 5 different buildings, maybe just two buildings, or and then after those buildings there could be just a matte painting, just a drawing. So you can start listing things out. Then yeah, and if it also helps, what you can do is you can map your set. So let's say if your short film is taking place in one room, then you can make a top view of that room. Then uh, you can make kind of like a map, and on that map you scribble everything and like place everything. So you have a kind of you kind of get a top view of everything what is going on, and then you can just draw some scribbles like from where to where this shot takes place. So over here you can see it's a really bad sketch over here, but I didn't have anything at this moment. So there's a top view of jungle that I was trying to make. Then I was trying to figure out in perspective and side view, like what do I need to make. So my character was running from here, then there was a U-turn, then he was taking a left turn. So in the top view, I mean, if you have a estimate of set, like map of set, then it's going to help you with backgrounds and layouts, and like how many elements needs to be there, uh, whether you need second layer of buildings behind first layer of building, or you can use a matte painting, or like how larger this set is going to be, how smaller. So making a set is sketch is going to really help you figure things out. All right, and then you have a more research and more meaning. So basically, once you have identified all these objects, what you can do is you can take each of these elements, put those things into list, and then you can start doing research about everything, like however small these things are. If it's a if it's just a tree, then is it a tree which is a very generic tree, or like is it specific to some country, I mean some region, like geographical location. So you need to think about that. The color of the sky, is it uh, in the desert, is it in the west, east, like maybe uh, arctic or something. So uh, for everything you will have the research is going to help you. So the kind of texture you need, the kind of the look you need, the research is going to help you shape everything. So otherwise you'll just end up trying out different things, different textures, different patterns. So you don't want to do that. Research will always help you to have more meaning in things. So then post that you can measure the effort and just kick off your presentation. So just before you starting everything, just think twice that all right, so this much resources I have, this is what I don't have. For this I can take help from outside, for this I can learn a few things. So just measure the efforts, and don't try to do everything by yourself. Like I said, you can take help for the story, you can take help for the sound. That's perfectly okay. all right? And idea of making everything by yourself is something, I mean, I like that idea, but it takes a lot, takes a lot of time, takes a lot of effort, and taking help is going to actually give you more room uh, to think on creative aspects and frustrate less, all right? And post that, you can just get into resource collection. So this is like your production is about to begin, and you can start collecting textures, start collecting different patterns, start collecting design references, photographs for like for the research. So all of this you start putting together into folders, try to structurize your uh, things and keep it organized. So all these basic things like uh, at least keep those out of the way, like just follow the right folder structure, follow the right kind of file naming, and keep things organized. It's like having a clean table. So you have a good workstation, good clean table, your mind is always like sorted out, all right? So however basic the reference is, make sure you're like organizing everything, mood boards, your charts, layouts, like nobody else have to need to see it, just for yourself. So it's your planning, your short film, so just make the way you want it, all right? Although you can take help from those who are already making short film, how they organize their their projects, all right? So yeah, we're just approaching to the end of the presentation. I just quickly wrap it up and then show you one example, that experiment which was done with few students. So then there are a few good practices that you can adapt. One is keep everything simple, keep everything limited. So in animation now, in animation, especially for those who are beginner over here, so everything needs to be like simple. If you're drawing a line, like if you're drawing a character, if a character needs eyes, then you draw eyes. If a character needs mouth, if the character needs to talk in the animated movie, then you draw the mouth. Otherwise don't draw the mouth. I mean, that's how you need to think about it so carefully, because whatever you're drawing, it's all that is going to be uh, needs to be animated. If it's a frame by frame animation, then you'll have to draw that mouth for 30,000 times, let's say, or maybe 5,000 frames. So do you really need something? I mean, whatever you're drawing on the screen, so try to keep it simple. Even the, I mean, if you try to notice, even the Pixar, Disney, and all that, they try to keep their characters simple. I mean, simple, and all of their previous characters and current characters, they look quite similar, because it really helps animating same character over and over again, having same kind of design language, having same kind of anatomy of the character, so that you don't, I mean, you're not playing with different styles, and it's like they try to play with similar kind of forms, and every studio have their own style. So in anime you have limited frames, and they try to keep things visually heavy, but it's a different medium, visually heavy, but then at the same time uh, the animation is less and kind of repetitive and small loops. So keep it simple, keep it limited. So if a thing is solving a purpose in the frame, only then you draw it, otherwise you don't draw it. If your short film can be done with just the two plants and characters, then just keep the two plants in the background using matte painting. Don't get ambitious about having too many texture details, too many things. It's going to just overburden everything. Like I said, the story, the short film is the main purpose over here. All right. So after that, you, like I said, don't get carried away in detailing of the one thing, and try to focus on the complete picture. And one other thing that happens often is, at least with me, that happens if I'm focusing on one thing and not really looking at the full composition or the full film, then what happens is you might end up wasting many hours on a thing which is eventually going to go into background for 3 seconds, just get out of focus. So look at the whole picture and don't just get carried away into detailing small things, small textures. I mean, unless it's for the feature film where there could be a close up in the future, there could be a different angle. So think from your own production's point of view, think smarter. All right. And then take help from others. Like I said, don't need to do everything by yourself. And also, if you think you have somebody who would really enjoy doing storyboard, then you can do one storyboard for yourself. Then after that, you can take that person's help for storyboarding. All right. So you're learning, but at the same time, you're taking other person's help as well. And take inspiration from bad films. So like often you're looking at greater examples, like successful examples which are like absolute best, like maybe Warcraft, or maybe like Riot Games, like a KDA or something like that. So you should also watch the examples which are less popular, or maybe which were not really executed well. So what mistakes they made, why you don't like this example. And if this bad film can exist, then I mean it gives you more confidence. I mean uh, there is always something to learn from bad examples. The mistakes, I mean, you are not an audience, you are analyzing something, you're not watching it for the entertainment purpose. So watching bad films is also very helpful. Like you, if you can identify those bad choices, then it's going to just make you more aware. All right. Then stay active on forums and groups. There are plenty of forums and groups. Just join few and just stay active. Just follow up with every day's just spend few minutes on forums, help others, maybe write your questions. You can even write to me. So let's say if you are making your short film at this moment and you need help, then you can write to me and I will answer it. I will answer every question. All right. So then after that, keep your mind free of unnecessary things. So let's say if you wake up every day and then maybe if you have a habit of checking your phone and Instagram, then something just pops up in Instagram and then maybe takes you complete a different chain of thoughts. So let's say some really cool looking cinema 4D effect or something like that. I mean, it's not really like a rule or anything, but then what I'm saying over here is just surround yourself with the knowledge that you need and keep yourself away from distractions. All right. So it's because it's really tempting in animation. Like, let's say if I'm doing something and then I see something like really cool, then you'll be like, okay, I also want to try this. I also want to try this. But then staying focused basically is what I'm trying to say over here. And also know that what you're dealing with over here is not a small thing. Even experts, even those who have been doing it for 40 years, even those who have been working in Disney, Pixar, Blizzard, Riot, and all that, even they take months sometime to produce one small shot. So it is a big challenge even for them. All right. So if you're slow at something, if you fail at something for first, like if some particular shot is taking too long, then know that what you're dealing with is not a simple task. It's okay to make mistakes. All right. And then be thorough on every step, and whatever step you're following, be it storyboard, be it animatic, be it like doing a research, don't just do it for because it's a part of process. Just make sure that it solves something for you. If it's a storyboard, then make sure that it gives you a very clear picture, a draft of your short film, and you are able to see your film in that form of storyboard. And after that, if you're doing animatic, then make sure that animatic played with the sound gives you much better visualization than the storyboard. So don't just follow a step because professionally it is advised. Follow it because it needs to solve a purpose, all right, and be thorough on every step and leave as little cluster as possible for the next stage, right? Or maybe no clutter at all, and then add more meaning into less things than more things which are meaningless. So whatever you're putting in the camera, like I said before, so whatever we're putting in the camera, keep it like, if it has a meaning, then you keep it. Otherwise, if you just fill the frame with meaningless things, it just no use. All right, so because even an empty frame with just a character or just a tree in the background with perfect sound, perfect composition, can say a lot. I mean, when things are played with the sound and the frame is complete, it's a really powerful thing when things are moving in the motion, right? So just don't try to achieve everything with just a still frame. Just realize that there is going to be sound and there are going to be moving things in this frame. It's going to look completely different once it's animated. All right, so that's there. And after that, what's in the camera is what matters. So basically bending rules. So over here, like, you have a storyboard, and after that you modeled everything and you have done everything. Then for every frame you start composing frames for each shot. So after that, if you realize that this thing is coming in the close-up, it needs some more work. So so you can work only on that part, detail that part. How you detail that part, not really important over here. But basically what I mean over here is what's seen in the camera, like however you put it over there, be it 3D, 2D, if you fake it, you twist it, you cheat it, nobody cares about that. But the final shot is what matters. All right, so what technique you're using, whether or not you're cheating, you're using combining different mediums, you're I mean, as long as your final frame, you're able to achieve what you desired for, it's like, that's what matters. All right, then yeah, then one last thing is know your medium. So the medium you're dealing with, just familiarize yourself more and more. If you are dealing with a 2D animation, then sketch more, do gesture study. If you're doing 3D animation, then study more of 3D modeling, play more with the 3D animation, and act out in front of camera. Just try to record your acting references. So basically, uh, like, leveraging the medium is what I'm trying to say over here. Is every medium have strengths and weaknesses. So maybe in a 2D animation you can have much more fluid animation, but then at the same time you can't really add too many details or textures. But in a cutout animation you can have many details, but the motion is quite limited. In 3D animation you can use both, but then performance and resources are the issue. So when you know the advantages and disadvantages of the medium you're using, and then you can, I mean, just play around. You get more comfortable with it, then you can just think more creatively. Like, you know how to cheat over here, you know what to take advantage of, what not to do, what mistake not to make. So that's, and like I said before, and I can't stress this enough, double think about adding another line. So if it's needed, only then you put it over there. Otherwise, just keep everything light, right? And few things which not to do, what I'm trying to say over here is, for a 30-second film, or maybe a 45-second of one minute short film, don't try to say too much. It could be a very simple event, it could be a very simple story. Even if you can't fit a full story, just keep it a small event, or maybe just a gag. I mean, it could be just a small funny clip. I mean, as long as there is an act, there is a there are certain emotions, there is cinematography. I mean, all that's all needed over here. All right, so taking too many opinions is what you should not do. So other people, as long as it's not, I'm not talking about constructive feedback. Constructive feedback is different. So let's say if you're discussing with other creative fellow, and if that person knows your limitations and what you're dealing with over here, gives you constructive feedback, then you can take it. And whether or not you want to keep it, that's totally up to you, right? But keep an open mind, but at the same time, don't take too many opinions, and that could sometime just I mean, things can go wrong way. So, and third thing is, don't try to achieve things the hard way. So let's say if you see some artist who is like really good at procedural modeling or procedural texturing. So let's say you know that the ground texture can be uh, done with the procedural texturing. That's a really cool thing. So yeah, but at the same time, you're not aware of that, like how to do that. I don't know the software and all that. So what matters is you need a ground, you need a texture. If you don't know procedural texturing, then you can paint your texture. If you don't know how to paint your texture, then you can click a photograph and manipulate your texture. All right, maybe use some filters, use Photoshop, or maybe use texture from internet. Just buy some textures. Like I said, you don't need to be expert in everything. You're trying, your goal is to make your short film. You don't want to be expert in everything over here. You're an animation film designer. Set your expectations realistic. Don't set too high expectations. I think we already discussed that. And don't try to make design changes after they are locked. So let's say maybe you are into you are post after storyboard, character design, and all that. Use production have started, and after that maybe you're tempted to add something. If it's a really small thing, it's not really uh, hindering your production, then that's okay. But don't just make too many back and forth changes. And what we discussed before, be thorough on each stage. So if you're thorough on every stage, then after that, just lock things, just move on, right? And then sound, and I think most most 3D artists, I mean, I've seen many people making this mistake, including myself. Once you put the sound, I mean, just try it for yourself. Okay, if you're sitting today on in front of computer, just try to render an image of a ground and just play a sound of the street in the background. It feels so much. I mean, the the things which are not seen on the camera, even those you start to visualize with just the sound. So sound is like it completes half of the picture. So don't just leave the sound behind, right? And whatever you're doing in the visual, it's just half of it, right? And music, sound, and all that just going to complete the picture. So it's like, imagine just watching something without sound. I mean, it loses meaning. And changing your idea or quitting on an idea after a while. So I remember this like, so every time you're working on a project, let's say if it went on for 6 months, or if it went on for 3 months, after 3 months you are at a different level than where you were before. So it's very obvious that today you are I mean, while you were working on it, you have improved, but that doesn't mean you will change. You need to quit, or you should just discard your idea and start working on a new thing. Even if you start a new thing, then even that thing is going to I mean, start looking dull maybe after a year or something. So finish what you started and just stick to it with your initial plan, and just get through it. That's what matters over here. Yeah, and don't get demotivated by just looking at those elaborated examples online, like done by like thousands of people, bigger teams and all that. So know your limits. Like you are doing a solo film, and it's going to look simple. It's going to have are very limited things, but that's okay, right? So your second film or third film is going to get better, but the only way to reach there is by completing this one. Going by the mode is something you should not do, and like it shouldn't be like if you're doing a character design, you like something today, you don't like something tomorrow. So whatever you're doing today is just make sure you build on top of it, and every day you're not experimenting different things. So just build whatever, like whatever you do today, tomorrow build on top of that, and not do a separate thing, and not go by the mood. Just let's say if you saw some different styles or different kind of animation, so it's really tempting, I can tell you that it's really tempting. So but let's not do that. All right, so I think we are through the presentation, and after this I'm just going to show you a small example. I just need some water, just a moment. Hi, anyone here in the chat? Yeah. So yeah, few things to which can help you stay optimistic is like for every stage, like celebrate your small goals. So let's say if you are through the first story stage, or let's say if you're through the first storyboard stage, then you can celebrate those small things, and see how far you have come, and not how far you need to go. So that's something. And then perfection is not important here, and this is here for learning, and not for awards. And like I said before, it gets easier with the practice. Second time, third time making short film, it gets easier, and you're gonna love this process. So if you're into, once you through your first animated short film, you're just gonna love it. You're gonna feel so powerful that what you were learning before, what you were so worried about before, like small things, I mean, the way you practice things, the way you learn on the go, I mean, your whole process is going to change. And even the experts make mistakes, so keep that in mind. Everyone has been there, even the Pixar. So you can watch Pixar's first short film, so you can just really, I mean, how limited it was, how simple it was. So you can just watch those examples and stay optimistic that it is a greater thing you're dealing with. And yeah, that's about it, guys. So now I was so there was a time in past few years I was working in a group. I just want to show you something. Let me just bring that video in front of you. I think that's a perfect example for today's discussion over here, and then we can conclude this session. I hope you can hear the sound. Let me just bring up the sound. So so this short film was done in in 10 to 12 days. It was like just 2 weeks. And what was surprising about this short film and how it turned out was like none of the people who were working on this were animators. Like, I mean, they hadn't tried this medium before, and they were not really. They learned on this project. So we had this. We decided this group activity, and we had like we wanted to make a short film. All right. Then on this short film, so we sat with a group of 5 people, and then we were like, okay, what can we do for this short film? So then we started mapping out the constraints. So first we had the idea, obviously we wanted to talk about the, I think the idea was basically showing a full circle of from where humans started, like starting from the very first fire, and like everything is kind of uh, coming back in the circle. So it's on the Vimeo. You can read about this more. So I'm just not gonna drag the session for too long. So basically we started with the idea, we fixed the duration. We were like, okay, let's just make it 1 minute or 1 minute 30 seconds. I think it's around 1 minute 40 seconds. And then we none of the teammates who were working on it had really strong command over the coloring, and then there were no animators. But the only thing which was common about in the entire team was uh, like they were good at drawing. They could draw. I mean, some of those could draw. uh, so there was one concept artist, so that was the strength. So we played around it. So we were like, okay, so we're going to use a medium which is going to use benefit from greater drawings. So we started with drawings, and then other artists were good at shading something, like taking references and shading. And we we recorded few things in the camera, and then we started animating on top of that. I mean, I was I mean, I can animate. I mean, I have done. I think I'm quite comfortable with 2D animation, but then I needed to work with a team, so I didn't want to find a medium where they will be overburdened with it. So we went ahead with this style. So what we did in this style was we took one frame, and for each frame we are going to paint the same frame 3 or 4 times, so that even though if that frame is still, it's going to look animated. So so over here you can see it's same frame but different paint dubs and very minimal animation. So we took the shots, we planned the shots in the way it was like, we kept it everything limited, lighter, and only practical, like what was possible in that scenario. So for this shot, I remember we took the help from 3D. So we used few 3D models, then we turned those things in 3D, and then in the backdrop of the animation in the 2D animation painting software, then we started painting few frames and then looped it, and start we also, I think, mirrored few things. So the execution was like really smartly done over here. So over here you can see there are few trees repeating here and there, and each of the tree have 3 frames. And then this frame is like, I think I have a, let me just bring the, yeah. So this is how this frame was done. So we had the painting, and then we were cheating in the 2D software for the 3D. So since the team didn't know 3D, and I think um, this is a pretty good solution, and I've seen many people use it before. So we just roughly we trimmed our layout in several layers, and then kind of placed it into a 3D uh, arrangement, and the way it turned out was quite good. And then we have this short breakdown. So this was done for the art contest, and it was held by Studio Pencilati. So I think it was a great experience and a great teamwork example over here. And then we have sorry. Yeah. So for every shot, we try to break down every shot into the most simplest form possible. So for the crowded shots, we started with the one human figure, and how many actually human figures we need to, so that the pattern doesn't look repetitive. Uh, my video, I think, can you guys see the video? For some reason, in my OBS studio, I can't see the video. That's strange. Mm-hmm. Okay. But were you able to see the short film? I think I lost it just now, the video. Yeah. Yeah, just a moment, guys. Can you guys see it now? The video? Okay. So yeah, so I think yeah, were you able to see the short film? Yeah, the previous film. I mean the one which I just showed you, Farther Days Come. So yeah, I think after that I lost the video for some reason. So I just added a different display capture over here. I think it's back. Not quite sure. Okay. So okay, so let me just bring that video again. The All right, thanks. Uh, Presentation FTDC. So over here, we have a shot of. So basically, for every shot, what we did was we broke the shot down into like the smallest element. So we were like, okay, so here what we need is yeah, thanks, Thomas. Okay, so yeah, and so for every shot, what we did was we made the like all those small things into different paint dubs without actually animating the characters. So you can see over here this character, it's just flickering paint. And then we played around with the different like arrangements of the same character. Then finally basically turned it into a full composition. So similarly we had uh, other shot. So what we did was we made several human figures, and then after that I think we used some of those on repeat. So this entire short film was a very experimental medium, and but then the group exercise, the aim for that was it was teamwork, and it was making a short film for the first time. And those people, those who worked on this was very first experience for them. And for me also it was such a great experience, like uh way it turned out in 10 or 12 days. I was so surprised, and I was really pleased with the results. And this, I think, this won a few awards. I think this was in the Fiki Buff Awards, and then this is also on Vimeo's Staff Week. So, yeah, Father Days come. So, yeah. So all those things we discussed in today's presentation, I think this is a very great example for that. If you can, I would love to know what you guys are working on, and like if any of you have plans for making a short film, like if you need any kind of guidance, like I would love to see storyboards. And maybe in future, like I said at the starting of the presentation, in the future what we can do is if when there are more people over here on Patreon or YouTube, maybe we can start a Discord group. And then if any of you are working on a graduation film or something, like it could be a great group activity for very small short films. And let's see, it's an online thing. Whether it's gonna go, maybe not, you can only try. So that's about it, guys, for today. And I hope, the session didn't go really smooth. I did the first part out, the echo thing, and I hope it was not too buggy, and I hope you learned something. Hope these things help you for deciding on things for your own shop. All right. So if you guys have any questions, like if you guys have, you can ask right away. But for those who are watching this in the future, this stream is gonna stay on the wall. So those who are watching it in the future, you guys can leave your questions in the comment section on the Patreon or on this video, and maybe we can do a revisit, do another Q&A regarding this session. And in the future, we can. I was thinking of starting with the storyboard workshop, and how to do a storyboard for your first short film, or for any, even if it's a motion graphic, or even if it's a story based or something like that. Then maybe then there could be few follow-up workshop about design related topics. So I would love to hear your questions, your thoughts, if you guys are working on something. I did talk to some of you, and I know some of you have plans of working on short films. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. All right. So if you guys have any question, otherwise we can conclude uh, this session at this moment. Let me know. And I apologize for all those buggy, all that mess in the start. I'm really new to it, guys. So for such small thing, like I said, I wasn't sure. Although I did a few times. I mic test. I did a few times. All right. Anyone got any questions? And like I said, feel free to leave it in the comment section if you guys have any doubts later or something you want to discuss in the future, right? All right. Thanks, Thomas. And I'm so glad you could join this session. Hi, Frederick. Okay, I'm glad. I would love to see it. Like, if you plan to share it on any time, if you have, I would love to see it. You can use my email. I'll just leave my email over here. Okay? You can use my email. I would love to see it. And I'm glad you guys could join this session. For those who just want to revisit it, I'll edit this session out. Then maybe tomorrow or on Monday or something, you can revisit it in case if you need. And my PowerPoint presentations. Do you think as a beginner it's good to start storyboarding right away with Grease Pencil? Yeah, Grease Pencil. I think Grease Pencil is a perfect tool. I think it's a really great tool for storyboarding. So, in fact, what I was going to discuss in the next session was how you can do few things in 3D, and then basically make your set in 3D with very basic primitives, and then use the 3D viewport to your advantage to establish the perspective view, the like establishing different camera views. So I don't think Grease Pencil. I mean, there are advantages, there are disadvantages. So let's say if you're doing storyboard in Photoshop, then the advantage is it gives you a very quick control over images. You can quickly scribble something, paint something, composite something, drag things on top of the layer and just mix and match it. But then you can't really do stuff in 3D, and you can't really sequence it really nicely in Photoshop. I think there are few add-ons that help you with till certain extent, but then the timeline is really not efficient over there. But then in Grease Pencil, especially with the newer update where you can edit the curves, I think if you know how to combine 2D and 3D, you can do your storyboard. But what I would suggest is, for the very first draft, use a pencil and a paper. I think it's less stressful, and it's more intuitive. It like you're struggling less with the technology. If you can make a habit of sketching something, scribbling something, I mean, just warm up for a few days, like 2, 3, 4 days. Just draw circles and lines. It comes really naturally. I think if you can draw for the very first draft when you're scribbling something, I think I would prefer that you do it on paper. Just give it a try on a paper. And but yes, for storyboarding you can use Grease Pencil. I think it's my latest favorite tool, and that's what I was going to do a video about next time. And Frederick, I would love to see your short film. If you think you can share it with me, I would love to see it. All right. And maybe in a one-on-one session we can discuss a few things about it. Same for Thomas. All right, guys. So I do have a Grease Pencil storyboard, but it's not quite a storyboard. It was like a animatic. So I'll just show it to you. Uh, then after that we can just conclude this session. So this one was
Bula!
so this one was animatic, not a storyboard. So over here, what I was trying to do was I just wanted to draw a reference for animators so that they can just have some sort of idea like what I have in mind. It was really simple clip.
Bula! I'm Charlie.
So this I was gonna
Hey,
discuss
us
that.
kids love to have fun, right? But you know what?
There was
Life
a
isn't
texture
always fun.
brush.
In fact, it can be really difficult. And you might... Bula, I'm Charlie from the Child Helpline.
Let me just bring out different examples. Song one compilation.
Bula, I'm difficult. And you might think that you're all alone. But you're not. If you want to talk to someone, you can pick up the phone right now.
With the Child Helpline, we're here for you. No matter what you're going through, anytime.
So this is the clip.
Bula, I'm Charlie. Hey, us kids love to have fun, right? But you know what? Life
So-
isn't always
So
fun.
all of this,
In
I
fact,
was
it
trying
can
to
be
put
really
together in
difficult.
very basic
And you
script.
might think that you're
It's
all
not
alone.
for storyboard.
But you're not.
Like I said, it wasn't a storyboard. I was just trying to figure out the act for myself. I mean, I have a very heavy face. I mean, I have a beard and all that. So when I was trying to record a reference for it, then I was not able to communicate what I'm trying to say. So I didn't look cute. I mean, this character is hell of cute. So what I thought was I just do a quick sketch, and I used grease pencil for that. You guys can use it, all right? And there is no denying it's gonna be a favorite of the new generation in animation for storyboarding. 3D combined with 2D, I think that's really gonna be helpful. All right, guys. So that's about it. Thank you. And I'll join the conversation if there is a Q&A in the future. If you guys have any questions, leave it in the comments either on this video or on Patreon post, or you can just write it directly to me. All right, you have my email, and thank you so much for supporting this channel, and I hope you enjoyed this session. So I'll see you guys in the next session. All right, take care, everyone. See ya. Bye, Thomas, Frederick, and yeah, I think I'm not quite sure the third person joined the chat over here. So I'll see you guys in the next session. Take care. Bye bye.